Hey, what is up, guys? It is Slikk, or Slikk here, and I'm back again with another video. And I just found out, this is not a report that has emerged today. This is actually from a few months ago here in 2017. But it has been reported by many sources, including Kotaku and Eurogamer, that a Guardians of the Galaxy AAA title is in development right now. Now, this is not to be confused with the Telltale game, which just released their episode 1 on April 18th. That game will be finishing up this year. This is a different Guardians of the Galaxy game, so a second one. This game is in development by Eidos Montreal, who have created the Deus Ex games. So there was Human Revolution, and then there was Deus Ex Mankind Divided. I have not played these games, but I know that the third one, which was the final one in a trilogy, presumably, was canceled due to poor sales. And from what Jason Schreier was saying, who has a scoop on this game, the people actually making the game are not very happy that they've been diverted from finishing their story. Apparently, Mankind Divided ended in like a cliffhanger. There were story beats they wanted to finish up in a third game, and they will not be able to do that because the game didn't sell enough. And now they're making a Guardians of the Galaxy game, and really it seems like superhero video games is like a surefire way to have successful sales, so that's the game that they're making at this point because that's what the publisher wants them to do.
But you're right, it is like two different companies. You have the Eidos side and then the Square Enix side, and like I think that we're going to see a lot more of Tomb Raider. I think that series is doing really well for them.
Really awesome games.
I think we're going to see a lot less of Deus Ex, so we're not going to see much more of that anytime
Yeah, I think
soon.
that last one flopped. Not a bad game. Our own Nick Scarpino played it and loved it, but it didn't sell.
Yeah, and I heard that they canceled a sequel that they were planning to make for it, much to the dismay of some people who work in Eidos Montreal. And so those guys are working on a Guardians of the Galaxy game in addition to the new Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And
now, I will say regarding this news, I totally did not know this, like, at all. Maybe some of you already did. I imagine this was all over the internet in January when I was, like, asleep or something. I don't know. But I am excited to see this. I think that the Guardians of the Galaxy would benefit from either a first-person or third-person style co-op shooter, particularly involving, you know, co-op multiplayer, where you can play with your friends, and, you know, there's 5 members of the Guardians of the Galaxy, at least in the TV show. Sometimes members will come in and out, like the comics and stuff. But generally speaking, you know, just pick your 4 or whatever, and you can have 4-player co-op, 5-player co-op, whatever have you, and each of you play as one of the members of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I happen to think that would be pretty damn sweet, and one of the ways that that would be a huge selling point for the game, and maybe have a main storyline as well, but Telltale's pretty much got that covered in terms of like the story perspective and, you know, a strong story narrative game, and I think that they could go totally, you know, all-out gameplay and just create a balls-to-the-wall, you know, crazy, you know, shoot-'em-up game, basically, for Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think would work very well, to be fair. I am surprised that they're going this route, especially when we have, you know, heroes like Iron Man, and we have a Spider-Man game in development, right? So that's cool. We have an Avengers game as well. So it sort of does make sense in some ways, because it seems like they've got everything else covered. But even so, I do feel that perhaps spending an extra year and making, you know, an Iron Man game or something like that would potentially be more, you know, worthwhile for them in the long run. With that being said, though, I'm still looking forward to the game. I think it could be a huge success, certainly more so than the Deus Ex games, which I've heard are also good, but just don't really have a mainstream appeal to them. I certainly haven't played them. And they are going to be, Eidos Montreal, who's making this game, is also developing, you know, the new Tomb Raider game with Crystal Dynamics, and then they're also helping Crystal Dynamics with the Avengers game. So this is the only game they're doing on their own, but they're also helping Crystal Dynamics to help fast forward the Avengers title. So they're going to be very busy the way that I'm looking at it, and, you know, it is one of those publisher-owned companies, and therefore I assume that there will be you know, adding on a lot of people, as those companies generally do have, whereas the privately owned ones generally have a smaller employee count, and they take longer on the games and stuff like that. But I imagine they're in quite the hurry to get out that Avengers game for 2019 for Avengers Part 2. That would be my presumption. But it's really interesting what they're doing here, and again, I recommend that you check out, actually I should have some in the background of this video, some gameplay of Deus Ex. You can sort of get a glimpse of what Eidos Montreal have done in the past, which is no, you know, vindication of what they'll do with this game, of course. That could be entirely different, but it is possibly a hint at what maybe we could be looking at. And I do really firmly, you know, I'm gonna go with what I was saying. You know, don't introduce multiplayer and all that stuff Maybe it could work. I'm not really thinking of a way right now that it could, but just a co-op mode and then a compelling story player where you can play mode where you can play as all of the characters in the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then 4-player co-op where you can play with your friends as the Guardians of the Galaxy and just have a good time. It sounds like a fun game to me. I will be down to play that if this game comes to fruition. Of course, it is still a whiles away, and you know, a cancellation is possible. It was leaked super early. They're in really, really early development, according to Kotaku. But that's the news. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and let me know your thoughts on 2 Guardians of the Galaxy games. Again, you know, we can look at this team from the comic books that was like Z-list, you know, bottom of the barrel. Certainly has its own cult following, but is by no means like a super popular team or anything, to now getting 2, you know, video game titles within a span of a few years of one another. That's quite remarkable, and I look forward to seeing what else Marvel has up their sleeve in regards to games. If they're making a Guardians of the Galaxy game, then, you know, an Iron Man game, a Captain America game, these are all just, you know, very easy you know, evolutions of that idea of making those sort of titles. And I also look forward to seeing what DC has in response, because at the moment they're far outnumbering them in games, and it seems that Marvel is in a good position to overtake DC in regards to this sort of competition between them in video games that has never really existed before, because Marvel's not really made any games. But now we're seeing that tide totally shift, and DC and Warner Brothers getting totally overwhelmed, unless they have something up their sleeve that we don't know about yet besides this Batman game. We'll have to wait and see. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. My name is Slikk. I'll see you guys in the next one.